Heyo! It is the multiverse pain in the ass again. PB. What up? So I have two different, well, I have multiple, but two different kind of Batman books. One, Batman in psychology, and one in Batman in philosophy. So the Batman book that I was looking at last night was the philosophy one. It's so interesting because it was talking about the trolley problem, right? Now, if you're not familiar with the trolley problem, which I feel like everybody has heard about it at this point. I mean, especially if you've if you've gone to college. If you haven't, that's fine. It's basically this. The trolley problem is you are standing in the middle, and there is a trolley that is about to go rocketing, and it's about to kill somebody. You have the ability to switch the lever. If you do nothing, the trolley is going to kill 5 bystanders. There are 5 people on one. There are 2 different tracks. There's 5 people on one track and 1 person on the other. If you do nothing, it's going to kill 5 people on this track. If you personally switch the lever, it will only kill 1 person. So the trolley problem is this: do you involve yourself to save those 5 people and kill 1 person, or do you do nothing and let those 5 people get killed? Is it your job to get involved? Is it better to actually kill those, to let those 5 people die, or kill that 1 person? Where is your responsibility in this? How do you make that how do you make that decision? Can you make that decision? And when you throw in different variables, the answer changes. Should your answer change? It's such an interesting thing because your answer should, they say there's 2 schools of thought for it, where it's your answer shouldn't change because you should either feel like it's okay to do what you're doing or it's not. But the answer is going to change because we're only human. So if you are okay, there's 5 strangers and there's 1 family member, you may just let those 5 strangers get hit by the trolley because you don't know them, but you know that 1 family member. Versus if it's 5 strangers and 1 stranger, you may say, okay, well, obviously you're going to take out that 1 stranger because 5 lives are worth more than 1 life. But then you look at it a different way. What if it's 5 children versus 1 adult? What if it's 5 convicted felons versus 1 convicted felon, or 5, innocent people versus 1 convicted felon? What are the parameters of when you would get involved versus when you would just stand there and let the trolley hit those 5 people? Because this is the thing that I think that, and I have often forgotten about this as well, because when you think about it, you're okay, would you let who would you let those 5 people die, or would you let the 1 person die? That's how I always think about it, is would I let 5 or would I let 1? What we forget a lot of times, I think, when we're thinking about the trolley problem is, in the trolley problem, you are standing there and you have control of the lever. You can do nothing. Your choice is to do nothing, or your choice is to get involved. If you do nothing, 5 people die. If you do something, you are actively killing someone. If you do nothing, you're not killing anybody. You're allowing people to die, but are you responsible for that? Because you're not the one who put the trolley on a dangerous... You didn't break this trolley. You're not the one who put this trolley careening down this track to murder these people. Are you responsible? But then if you actually flip the switch, you now have taken a life. You made the conscious decision that it was your responsibility to murder this 1 person to save those 5. It wasn't just you saying, okay, 1 life is worth less than 5. You consciously made that decision to murder that person to save those 5 people. That's the difference at this point. You actively are becoming a murderer. I think we forget about that a lot of times when we answer this question, because we're just thinking, oh, well, one life is worth less than 5, especially if you're looking at it as them being equal. If you don't throw any parameters in, if we don't know, are they children? Are they old? Are they, murderers? Are they, whatever? If they're not family members, if it even says it in the book, if they're like, if it's like a fog and all you know is there are 5 people on this track and 1 person on this track, do you flip the switch or do you let it just go? Again, if you do nothing, which you absolutely can do, it is not your responsibility to do anything. You can just stand there. If you do nothing, 5 people lose their lives. If you do something, you then become a murderer and kill that one person. So, do you become that murderer? Now that we all effectively know what the trolley problem is, crash course for the trolley problem. Now that we all are spiraling down that path as to whether or not we are going to actively become murderers, and in what instance we actively will allow ourselves to pull that trigger. And sometimes I feel like the decision would be easy for some of us, and some of it, it wouldn't be. We'd be like, I feel like sometimes we'd absolutely say, you know what? No, under no circumstances would I ever pull that trigger. And sometimes we're like, you know what? That's an easy decision for me. I would absolutely do it. In the book, it talks about that in reference to Batman and the Joker. That's so interesting to me because I've never thought about it like that before. Because when they talk about it specifically with Hush and with when Jason comes back, oh God, I am blanking on Batman Under the Red Hood. So when Jason comes back from the dead, when he specifically, spoilers, when Jason comes back from the dead, he specifically says, he's like, look, I had thought when I died, you would have done something. I feel like that should have spurred you into action. He's like, I'm not talking about the Penguin or the Riddler or anyone else, just him. Like, why didn't you love me enough to do something about this? Like, why wouldn't you kill him for me? Like, are you serious? Like, why wouldn't you kill the Joker for me? Like, he is the worst. Like, he took me away from you, and that wasn't enough of a reason to kill him. And Batman's like, well, if I kill the Joker, I become just as bad as him. And I feel like all of us, or at least a good portion of us, like, I'd say, like, 85% of us at this point, maybe more, are like, bro, if you don't just murder the Joker at this point, because by not killing the Joker, you just allow him to run rampant. And every time you don't let him, like, every time you just allow him to live, you put him back into Arkham. That is a revolving door that he just keeps coming back out of, and you know that. So you're not, like, putting any more security on that. You're not guaranteeing that he doesn't escape. So if he murders 200 people this round, he goes into Arkham, he comes right back out. Next time he comes out, he could murder 200 more. Like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, just end his life and save all the future lives that he would have killed if you didn't, like, if you don't end him, you're just allowing all of these other people to be murdered. But that's where that trolley problem comes into question as well. Batman is under no obligation to murder the Joker, because we always think about that. We're like, yo, by not murdering the Joker, you're just allowing him to kill all these people. Those deaths are on you. Technically, they're not. Never really thought about it before. I mean, first of all, okay, personally, pause. Personally, I'm still going to blame Batman, because you have taken it upon yourself to say that you are Gotham's knight. You are the one who is cleaning up Gotham. You have put yourself in harm's way. You're going to take out all of these villains, and you're going to be there for the people. You want to make Gotham a better place. You want to be there to protect everybody. And yet you're letting all of this stuff run rampant. Like, you are allowing all of this to happen. You should be held responsible for this. You should be held to a higher standard of this. And I feel like that does mean killing the Joker. So I have more, but I'm getting off topic here. So I'm going to unpause that, and I'll come back to that at a different time. So, because that could go on forever. So we're going to unpause that, and we'll come back to that at a different time. However, by him not doing that, though, he doesn't really have to. Like, he really is theoretically, he's under no obligation to kill anyone. He doesn't have to kill the Joker. It's not his responsibility to do so. And anybody that the Joker kills thereafter, it's not on Batman. It's on the Joker. The Joker's the one killing these people, or allowing themselves to, not allowing themselves, he's the one who is killing them and allowing them to be killed because of his actions. It's not Batman's actions, it's the Joker's actions. So anybody that is killed because of that is the Joker. It's on the Joker's head, not Batman's. We can all blame Batman. And again, I can come back to that later, but it's the Joker who did it, not Batman. So this is like that trolley problem where Batman is standing next to the trolley. But the problem is that he's choosing to actively, during this trolley problem, he's choosing not to flip the switch. That's what he's doing. He's choosing to be passive and not flip that switch because he will not kill. It's his motto, his mantra, his everything about him as a person. He will not kill. So he will not take that life. He will not be responsible for killing, even if that means that other people die. Even if that means that other people have to sacrifice for his morals and his values and like his mantra, so be it. Because he will not stain his own soul with murder, even at the expense of others. That's kind of what's happening here. I'm not to say that he condones any of this or that he is allowing that to, like, he will try his best to save as many people as he can. However, at the end of the day, he does know that the Joker is killing people and he can't save everyone. If the Joker sends out, one of his little tick, 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 ticks, kaboom, that's going to take out people. And Batman can't be everywhere. He can't save everyone. So by not taking out the Joker, by consciously standing there on that trolley, but this is what the book says too. It's the Joker on one side of the track, but the Joker has tied people to the other track. Batman is standing in the middle, still choosing not to flip that switch, even knowing that people are tied to the other track that the Joker put there. They're not there of their own free will. The Joker is there, and he's still not flipping that switch because he will not become a murderer. That's what Batman has decided. That's what he's chosen. That's him as a person. And it's so interesting because, like, on one hand, I understand it. Like, I totally understand that. Like, because when they talk about that, when they're like, it's not his responsibility. And I never really thought of that before, where like the trolley problem, I always am just like, well, 1 versus 5. But again, when you think about 1 versus 5, and then the fun part of the trolley problem is always to get into the specifics of it. Well, you're like, well, what if you had this, and like the what ifs, where you then start throwing in the most ridiculous things you can think of. Like, you're like, well, what if you had your best friend on this part and you had this and that? Because then you really get into what people are willing to do, what kind of sacrifices people will make. And then if you have my friends, people become like ridiculous. And they're like, well, I would get like, I would get a plane and, we would just drop down parachutes. And like, you get ridiculous answers at that point. But like when you first start and you're like taking the question seriously and you're really thinking about like the answers as to what you would and would not sacrifice. And it's where you draw the line as to when you would actually like flip the switch, but then at some point you forget you're flipping the switch and it just becomes a matter of numbers. Batman never has forgotten that he is actually standing there flipping that switch. And I think that is really interesting. And I think that says a lot about his character. The fact that he has never forgotten that he's the one flipping that switch, that he is the one that controls it. The fact that I forgot literally that I'm the one flipping that switch, I think says a lot about who I am as a person. But you cannot say that you have not forgotten. Like, I feel like there's a lot of people out there who are like, no, that's totally the problem of the trolley problem. Of course I didn't forget. Okay, fine. Good for you. I'm sure that you didn't. There's tons of people out there who are smarter than me and they understand the trolley problem. And they're like, I've always understood that I'm the one standing there. Great. I feel like there are tons of people who have forgotten that at some point and who are just thinking about the numbers, who are like, well, 1 versus 5. I've forgotten that I'm the one flipping that switch. That you also have the choice to do nothing. There's that secret choice of do nothing, because you always think it's save 5 or save 1, but it's not really save 5 or save 1. It's allow 5 to die or kill 1. Those are really what the choices are. It's do nothing and allow the track that it's on, allow history to be what it is, allow the timeline that we're in to complete its course, or change it and murder. That's really what it is. Like, it's, but it's so interesting. It was just, as I was reading that, I was like, damn, that's actually a really good, that's a really good point. But Batman still, I feel, should, the fact that he's just standing there, really, and it's funny that they say that, Batman, on an aside, the fact that they say Batman doesn't kill is completely hilarious to me. He doesn't consciously kill. He won't stand there and, murder. However, anybody who's watched any of the Dark Knight trilogy knows that's bullshit. How many times has Batman just, got in the Batmobile and done a chase across the city and cars have gotten blown up and those people are not alive. Those people are not still in the living world. Okay, first of all, in the new Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, who's seen that movie? Who has seen that movie? All right, remember the penguin chase down the fucking highway? Those people are not in this world. They are not among the living. Okay, and anybody who says that they are, you are kidding yourself. No. There's so many innocent bystanders that they just tragically lose their lives. They're gone forever. Batman may not be a murderer, but he's a murderer, okay? Because he just does. He is so reckless and just with abandon. So he's just out there driving. Somebody needs to give him a ticket. Listen, his son is a police officer in Bloodhaven, or he was. I know in the comics he has since moved on from that. But however, for a long time he was a police officer. Give your father a ticket for reckless driving, careless driving, endangerment, all that. Somebody needs to take his driver's license away. Batman should no longer have a driver's license because he's out there causing, I swear, there's vehicular homicide or something out there that needs to be taken into account because there is a lot. There's just too much. So to say that Batman has never killed is a lie because he certainly has. Not on purpose, but definitely it has happened. I don't want to hear he hasn't because that's certainly not true. Every time I watch those movies, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, well, that person is dead. That person is certainly dead. Because it's true. It's so true. So Batman is just, or Batman throws people off buildings, okay? Every time you see Batman throw somebody off a building, that person's not alive. What, did they bounce back? Was there always one of those little fire, in old cartoons when the firemen used to have those big circle things that look like trampolines that they used to catch you when you were falling off buildings? There's not always one of them at the bottom of those buildings just waiting for Batman's victims. There's just no way. Now, sometimes you see their victims hanging upside down and waiting for the cops or whatever. In Gotham, spoiler alert, in one of the, I won't say which one, in one of the episodes of Gotham, they are hanging upside down on the building waiting for the cops to come collect them. That's not how that happens in everything. That's not how that works. That's not how that happens. By the way, completely off topic as well. I watched all of Gotham. I quite enjoyed it. I love all of the villain arcs. Like, the villains are just like the best part of that show. Could not care less about Jim Gordon. Every time he was on screen, I'm like, okay, are we done yet? Just did not care about him at all. Every time the villains were on screen, I'm like, this is where it's at. The ending to Gotham, I won't say like what it is. At least not right now. I could always go into that later. However, but the ending of Gotham is garbage, okay? Anybody who disagrees with me, you are welcome to have your opinion. However, it is garbage. It is garbage. It was so bad. I was so angry. Like, I just feel like it disrespected the character so much. Like, everything it had been building up to. Like, the characters were so good for so long. And then all of a sudden I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, why have you... I can't believe you've done this. Like... Especially the Riddler. My favorite character. I can't believe you've done this. Like, oh, I was so angry. Oh, I was so angry. The rest of the show is really good, though. Like, I do recommend it, like, watching the show, because watching the characters, just evolve. Again, the villains, just watching their backstory and their history and everything, just watching them. Oh, it's so good. I do think that they played their Joker card too soon, and I think that they could have done more with it. And so spoilers for Gotham and for Joker, just a little bit, not a lot, just a teeny bit. I feel like the actor that they got for him was absolutely perfect. Okay, there's nobody who could have played that who could have played that better. Absolutely no one. However, they introduced him far too early, and then he knew who Bruce was, which was really a bad choice, I feel. Just personally, I feel like it was a bad choice for that. I did not care for that. So I didn't like it. I didn't like it. But there was a lot that they did right with that character. I just feel like they introduced him way too early, and they didn't do enough with him. And I don't know, it was odd. It was just very, okay, so I've gotten completely off topic of what I originally started with. So there's that. However, circling back again is Batman's choice of killing versus not killing. In the book, it specifically mentions Jason Todd confronting him about not killing the Joker. And it also specifically mentions Hush. And it talks about, like, Hush saying the same thing, like, bro, like, if we killed the Joker, do you know how many lives we could save? Because they were talking about, like, a surgeon, like, killing people, killing another surgeon or whatever to save patients and stuff. And, like, but, like, Hush and everything is, so, like, when they talked about that, and they're talking about, like, even he is saying, like, you need to get rid of the Joker, because think of how many, like, the good of ending one life versus, saving so many lives in the future. Like, Jason was just saying, like, you should have killed him out of your love for me. Like, he also, like, mentions, like, this piece of garbage, like, he murders and, like, he kills. But Jason's was more personal. Jason was more like, you should have killed him out of your love for me. Like, he took me away from you, and that should have been enough to spark you into a rage enough to want to avenge me. So my life should have been more important than his, and he should be 12 feet under. Like, you should have, like, knocked him down 8 and then stomped him down the rest of the way, is kind of how Jason felt. Hush is more thinking, like, that the ends would justify the means. Like, if you take him out, think of how many future lives would be saved. And that's so true, though, because if you take him out, how many future lives would be saved? But then again, he's like, well, if I take him out, I would be I would be no better than him. There was a meme, and I know it didn't come from this. It came from something else. However, I first saw it it was like a poster. It was Jason. It was a Jason Todd one. And it was like, it was Batman saying, if you kill a killer, the amount of killers in the world stays the same. And then it was Jason standing there. He's like, yeah, but he's like, if you kill a killer, he's like, if you kill 100 killers, that number goes down by like 99. Like, so I'm like, I mean, that's accurate. So that's so, like, he's right. So, and then I saw something on Law and Order where he killed this kid who was like he was literally a sociopath. But you can't diagnose kids as sociopaths because they're too young. So like you literally can't diagnose them until they get to a certain age. But this kid was. Like, he just was. In like, they proved it, whatever, in the episode, but he was too young to actually diagnose him. So the dad murders him in open court because the kid killed his kid. And he had no remorse for it. Like, and he was going to do it again because he had done it before. So then he kills him, and they're like, dude, like, what the hell? And he's like, well, you killed him. Like, then, you know, so you're a murderer too. And he's like, yes, but there's one very big difference between me and him. He would have done it again. I never will. And I'm like, oh shit. So like, that's also accurate. So that's another thing to think about too. Like, Batman, if he killed the Joker, would never have to do it again. Because, again, like, that number goes down by like 99. So like, you kill them. It's like Dexter. Like a serial killer who only kills serial killers. Like, if you're killing only the bad people, think of how many lives you're actually saving. It's one of those things. So Batman not doing it is hurting more people than it's saving. However, once again, the philosophy of is like his morals versus how we personally feel. Is it his personal responsibility to stain his soul by taking a life, by murdering? But then again, it also is one of those things where it's like, Batman won't do it, but he won't allow anyone else to do it either. So when Jason's like, I'm going to do it, Batman goes out of his way to physically stop him. And on one hand, I get it because it's like, you know, murder is wrong. It's, you know, illegal and all that other good stuff. However, Batman, these are your morals. These are your beliefs. So if you're standing next to the trolley and you believe that it is wrong to flip that switch, but then Jason runs over to flip the switch to save those 5 people, it's like you are now fighting him to stop him from flipping the switch, to allow those 5 people to be murdered. If we look at it like that, Batman becomes more of a villain, don't you think? Like, if you physically don't want to do it because it will stain your soul, because you don't believe in, like, you can't carry that burden of murder, I understand. It is a huge, heavy burden to, like, put on yourself. I completely understand that, and not everybody can do that. But for you to stop someone else from doing it is a little bit like, who are you to stop someone else from making that decision for themselves? And then we get into the into the thing where it's like, well, that's what normal people do every day. Like, cops stop people from murdering people, you know, because murder is wrong. You are not wrong. You are correct when you say this. Like, of course we stop murderers. We stop serial killers. We stop all kinds of crime. Like, it is other people's jobs to stop that. That is correct. It is our job to stop these things. But the difference between stopping someone who is a serial killer and stopping someone who is a murderer is exactly that. We're stopping crime. We're stopping murderers. We're not stopping people who are trying to help other people by stopping them. You know, like, we're not stopping somebody who's stopping somebody from, like, you know, helping. So Batman stopping Jason from killing the Joker just because he doesn't believe in it is a bit, again, I understand it. I feel like it goes both ways, because I feel like people would argue with me about this. They'd be like, no, you're stupid. Like, what you just said contradicts yourself, because like we stop murderers, and Jason trying to murder the Joker would be a murder, and Batman is doing what the police would do. He would stop him from murdering. Okay, yes. On one hand, that's completely correct. On the other hand, again, if we're looking at it like the trolley problem, Jason's trying to flip that switch. He's trying to murder the Joker before he can murder those other people. Batman stopping him makes him a villain. That's how I'm looking at it. Again, if Batman doesn't want to do it, he should step away from that and let Jason do it. Now, if we're looking at it like just a normal everyday prop, like if we're just standing on the streets and Jason is just Russian rouletting and he's like, let me just murder this person, then yes, he should be stopped. Of course he should. That's the same thing. The Joker should be stopped. And if we're like, well, let's just stop them by taking them and throwing them in jail. In a normal, reality, like an hour reality, that's correct. We should probably do that. We should take them and put them in jail. That does not work in this reality, because Arkham is a revolving door. How many times have we seen that? If we want to do that, if we want to put these like criminals in jail instead of like straight up murdering them, then we need to get tighter security on our fucking facilities then, don't we? We need to get better guards. We need to get better cells. We need to get like Bruce Wayne should be putting more money into the fucking criminal side of keeping them contained, I feel. And I know he is, but he should put more. He should be doing more with that then. If he does not want to kill, then he should be doing more with the correctional side of it. Like, I know he puts money into the programs because it's definitely stated in multiple things that he is involved in that. He should be doing more. Because if it is that easy for them to just escape whenever they want and for them to just keep getting out, then he should be doing more with it. And I know that they are smart. They're all smart criminals. There is not a stupid one amongst them. And they're going to find a way out, because that's why the comics exist. But he should still be doing more. Make it harder for them to do it. Don't make it so easy. Like, come on. It's like ridiculous how easy it is to get out of there. And Blackgate is even easier to get out of, because like, come on, because Arkham is a little bit harder to get out of, because they have the inhibitors and like the cells and like the things that like, because people have powers and shit that they have to go in there. So they make it a little bit more tighter security and stuff. Blackgate, that's just where you go when you're like the Penguin. You got money. You just go in there and then you're like, okay, you fucking bribe a guard and you're like, bye, I'm out again. Here we go. It's ridiculously easy to just get out and come out and do whatever you want to do. Like, so yeah. Again, dissolved and, got away from my point there. But that's the thing, is Batman morally obligated to pull the lever because he is Batman? Because he has decided to put on that cowl and he has decided to take the safety and the well-being of Gotham into his hands personally. He has decided to clean up the night and he has decided to be our protector. Is he morally obligated to flip that switch and protect the many versus the one? Because by standing there and passively doing nothing, how is he any different than a normal Joe off of the streets? How is he being Batman? How is he protecting us? How is he doing anything when there is a criminal right there on the single track that he could be doing something about? He's doing nothing to protect us. He is giving all of the criminals an open season to continuously do what they're doing day in and day out. All he does is he gives them an ass whooping, sends them to timeout, and then lets them back out again just to continue doing crime. And then it's just like in the Harley Quinn show where they made a joke about this. Spoilers but one of the episodes, I don't remember which one. They made a joke about it where she's like, okay, let's go out and go, beat up some bad guys. And they're like, we have to wait for them to, do a crime before we go. He's like, we sit here and we do paperwork. We don't do anything else. We just sit here, we do paperwork, and we train, and we wait for the computer to tell us there's a crime. Like, that's basically all he's doing. He's waiting for them to do another crime. He's waiting for them to hurt other people and then going back out and doing something about it. Like, and I get it. You're not going to attack somebody before they do the crime, but he's giving them open season and license to hurt us and to do all of these. He knows what they're capable of. And he allows it to keep happening over and over again. And it's not like they're saying they're sorry and that they're going to repent. He puts them in there and they say, I'll be back. This won't hold me for long, Batman. I'll be back. I'll get out sooner rather than later. And then he's like, well, I'll keep my eyes on you. Then they make bail or they just get out again. They come out and they do the same shit all over again. And then it's like they're surprised when, they do it again. How can you be surprised? How can you be surprised that they're doing what they're already doing? Like, they've been doing it for years. They're not doing anything new. They're not doing anything that you should be surprised about. How is Batman any different? How is he taking on any more responsibility? Like, maybe the petty crime maybe has lessened because people are afraid of getting their ass whoops or thrown off buildings and such. But the major crimes, the major criminals, the ones who are actually more dangerous to the city, they're not afraid of Batman. They're not really put in their place because they know that he won't kill them. He might steal their bones. Like, he might hurt them quite a bit. But he's just going to throw them in Arkham and they'll be out next Tuesday. Like, so TDLR without being, short. The trolley problem with Batman standing in the middle, the answer is he will always stand there. He will never throw the lever. Ever. Never, ever is he going to throw that lever. And again, I ask, I'm like, how does that make him different than me? Or like one of you guys? Like, how is he better? How is he the Dark Knight? How is he a protector of Gotham? You let me know. Like, he has morals and he has a code and justice, not vengeance, and all that stuff. That's great. You let me know how that's going to protect me the next time the Joker gets out and he's, sending out the Joker fish or the Joker toxin, or he's sending out boxes. You let me know, Batman. Next time you decide to just stand there and let the Joker run wild. All right, well, that was fun. So, anyway, I'm going to continue to read this book. I'm sure I'll find more shit to ramble about, but I hope you guys had fun with that. All right, yeah. Have a good night and stay safe out there. See ya.